Now, if you thought Angel Reese getting shipped to Atlanta was going to make the Chicago Sky games a lot less spicy, I present to you Jacy Sheldon. Just literally, the news broke that she just got traded to the Chicago Sky.
If you thought the Chicago Sky were losing their drama quotient when Angel Reese got shipped to Atlanta, think again. The Sky just made a move that's going to make every single Fever versus Sky matchup absolutely electric. We're talking about a player who already has history with Caitlin Clark. Bad history, physical history, the kind of history that turned one game into a national controversy.
We all remember what happened between Clark and Sheldon last year. And of course, Marina Mabrey got involved in that, and that became a massive fiasco. So now, the Sky Games, got a little bit more interesting, a little bit more spicy, if you will. What also sucks is Azurá Stevens not going to the Fever, also going to the Chicago Sky.
Jacy Sheldon, that's the name that just got attached to the Chicago Sky in a trade that nobody saw coming. And if you don't immediately remember why this matters, let me refresh your memory. Last season, Sheldon and Clark had an incident that escalated so fast it pulled in Marina Mabrey and became one of the most talked about moments of the regular season. Tensions were high, contact was questionable, and the aftermath was messy. Now they're going to see each other 4 times a year minimum, and Sheldon's wearing sky blue.
Versus tell ESPN. She averaged 12.8 points a game, is an alum of the Chicago Sky, won a championship there, guys, in 2021. Now, the one everybody's been waiting on, well, there's been three that everybody's waiting on. Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham. We got 2 of the 3 in the bag.
But here's what makes this even more interesting. The Sky didn't just acquire Sheldon, they also brought in Azurá Stevens, who was rumored to be a potential target for Indiana. Stevens averaged 12.8 points per game last season, and she's a Chicago alum who won a championship there in 2021. So she knows the system, she knows the culture, and she was available. The Fever could have made a move. They didn't. And that decision tells you everything about what Indiana's front office is prioritizing right now.
Guess what? Enter in Caitlin Clark.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. She's back. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
She's back.
She's back.
She's back. It makes all the sense in the world to bring back Caitlin Clark's running mates. It just does. You want the best player in the league to have the most solid locker room possible? Take note, don't re-sign Brianna Turner.
Because while Chicago was adding pieces and stirring the pot, Indiana was focused on something completely different. Chemistry, continuity, keeping the core together, and they just locked down the 2 players who matter most to Caitlin Clark's success on the court. Lexi Hull signed a multi-year deal to return to the Fever. Not a 1-year prove-it deal. Not a wait-and-see situation. A multi-year commitment that signals Indiana understands exactly what they have. Hull wasn't just popular in free agency. She was being courted by multiple teams who saw what she brought to Indiana last season. She's Clark's primary running mate on fast breaks. She spaces the floor, and she's bought into her role completely. Other teams offered her opportunities to be a bigger scoring option. She chose to stay in Indiana and keep this young core intact.
For Christ's sakes. Or make some crazy signing like that. No DeWanna Bonners this year. How about that? And of course, this was the other one. Kelsey Mitchell is finalizing a $1.4 million Supermax 1-year agreement to return to the Indiana Fever. And of course, she had a career year last year. So it should be noted that Lexi Hull deal, in case you did not see what I said a second ago, it is a multi-year deal. All right, so that's pretty good.
And then came the other domino. Kelsey Mitchell finalized a 1-year Supermax deal worth $1.4 million to return to the Fever. Mitchell just came off a career year, and she had leverage, real leverage. She could have tested the market, forced Indiana into a bidding war, or pushed for a longer deal with more guaranteed money. Instead, she took the Supermax for 1 season. Now here's the critical detail that most people are missing. The Fever cannot core Mitchell again after this season. That's it. This is the final year they have her under team control unless she chooses to re-sign. Which means the clock is ticking, not just on Mitchell's future, but on this entire window.
Got her back. We got to think. I believe they cannot core Kelsey Mitchell again. Okay. This is it. I think for the big three, because you've got Caitlin's Supermax that's coming up. This is the run. You got to empty the guns right here, right now. This is your run to a new or a title, a Indiana Fever title, the latest title.
Think about the timeline here. Caitlin Clark's Supermax extension is coming. When that kicks in, it's going to consume a massive portion of Indiana's salary cap. The financial flexibility they have right now to surround her with talent, that window is closing fast. This season and maybe next season are the years where Indiana can still afford to keep multiple high-level players around Clark before the cap reality hits. That's why bringing back Hull and Mitchell isn't just about maintaining chemistry, it's about maximizing the championship window while it's still wide open. The Fever are all in on this core right now, and they're betting that continuity beats star chasing.
This is the chance to put a ring on Clark's finger right here, right now, where she can make a run, win the MVP, all of it. I think she's going to average over 10 assists a game. I do. I think she's going to break records when it comes to distributing the ball, if Stephanie White allows her to do that. We will see. Now, we all wait on Sophie. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out.
But let's talk about what this means for Clark specifically, because this is where the strategy gets really interesting. The best player in the league needs 2 things to reach her full potential. First, she needs teammates who understand her game, who know where she's going to put the ball before she releases it, who can finish in transition and knock down open threes. Hull and Mitchell check both boxes. They've spent a full season learning Clark's tendencies, and the chemistry showed in the playoffs. Second, and this is equally important, she needs a stable locker room. No drama. No egos clashing over shot attempts, no veterans undermining the system, just a group of players who are aligned on the mission and committed to winning together.
I think she's going to average over 10 assists a game. I do. I think she's going to break records when it comes to distributing the ball, if Stephanie White allows her to do that. We will see. Now, we all wait on Sophie. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out.
Compare that approach to what we've seen from other teams. Chasing big names in free agency, making splashy trades that look good on paper but create chemistry issues, bringing in players who don't fit the system just because they're available. Indiana's doing the opposite. They're prioritizing fit over flash, and they're trusting that the talent they already have is good enough if they can just keep it together. The Hull signing is particularly telling because it's multi-year. That's a statement. Indiana isn't just running it back for 1 season to see what happens. They're committing to this group for the long haul, or at least for as long as the financial math allows. Hull's going to be in a Fever uniform for multiple seasons, learning and growing alongside Clark, building the kind of chemistry that takes years to develop. Mitchell's 1-year deal is different, but it makes sense given the cap situation. She gets her Supermax payday. Indiana gets 1 more guaranteed year with her, and then they'll have to make a decision about whether they can afford to keep her once Clark's extension kicks in. It's not ideal, but it's reality. You can't keep everyone forever in a salary cap league. And here's where the expectations start to get serious. This is the run, right now. This season is Indiana's best chance to put a championship ring on Caitlin Clark's finger while they still have this roster configuration intact. The core is locked in, the chemistry is established, and the financial flexibility still exists. Next year, things get complicated. The year after that, things get really complicated. So the pressure is on, not just on the players, but on the front office to avoid the kind of mistakes that derailed them last year. No more Breonna Turner situations. No more questionable roster moves that create locker room tension. No more prioritizing veterans over fit. Just smart, calculated decisions that maximize this group's potential. Let's talk about what Caitlin Clark is going to do with this supporting cast, because the statistical projections are fascinating. Last season, Clark averaged 8.4 assists per game as a rookie, while dealing with constant defensive attention and a roster that was still figuring out how to play together. She led the league in assists despite being in her first professional season, despite teams game planning specifically to take away her passing lanes, despite not having a full training camp to build chemistry with her teammates. Now imagine what happens in year 2. Hull and Mitchell know exactly where to be when Clark has the ball. They've seen every pass she likes to make, every angle she uses, every window she tries to thread. The timing is going to be sharper, the execution is going to be cleaner, and the assist numbers are going to climb. There's a real possibility that Clark averages over 10 assists per game this season. Not just because she's a better player, but because her teammates are better prepared to finish the opportunities she creates. That would shatter the single-season WNBA record for assists per game, and it would cement her status as the most dangerous distributor the league has ever seen. But here's what makes this even more exciting. If Stephanie White allows Clark to fully embrace the playmaker role, we could see something the WNBA has never witnessed before. A player who combines elite scoring with historically great passing, who can take over games in multiple ways, who makes everyone around her significantly better just by being on the court. White's system is going to be crucial here. Does she give Clark the freedom to orchestrate the offense completely, or does she try to balance the playmaking responsibilities more evenly? The smart money says she lets Clark cook, because that's when Indiana is most dangerous. When the ball is in Clark's hands and she's making decisions, the Fever are nearly impossible to guard. And if the assist numbers do climb into double digits, it's going to force a conversation about what the MVP award actually means. Can you win MVP as a second-year player when there are established stars putting up big scoring numbers? Absolutely, if your impact on winning is undeniable. And if Clark is averaging 20 points, 10 assists, and leading the Fever to a top 3 seed, the case becomes pretty compelling. Now let's circle back to Chicago for a second, because the contrast between these two team-building philosophies is striking. The Sky are adding players with edge, players with history, players who are going to make games chippy and physical and emotionally charged. Jacy Sheldon brings intensity and a willingness to mix it up. The Sky Fever rivalry was already heated, and now it's going to be absolutely volcanic. Indiana's taking the opposite approach. They're building for sustainable excellence, not short-term drama. They're betting that talent plus chemistry beats talent plus chaos. They're trusting that if they can keep this core together and avoid distractions, the winning will take care of itself. Which philosophy is right? We're about to find out, because when these two teams meet next season, it's not just going to be about basketball, it's going to be about vindication. Chicago's going to want to prove they can still compete without Angel Reese, and that their new additions make them tougher. Indiana's going to want to prove they're the class of the league, and that continuity was the right call. One more thing to watch, Sophie Cunningham. She's the third major free agent that everyone's been waiting on, and she's still unsigned. Cunningham's a three-point specialist who plays with an edge, and she'd fit perfectly on several rosters. The fact that she's still available tells you that either the market isn't developing the way she hoped, or she's waiting for a specific situation to materialize. If she ends up in Chicago, the Sky become even more dangerous from the perimeter. If she lands somewhere in the East, it changes the competitive balance. And if she signs with a Western Conference contender, it could shift the entire playoff picture. Her decision matters, and the longer it takes, the more interesting it becomes. But for Indiana, the Cunningham watch is irrelevant. They got their guys, they locked down the core, they're moving forward with a clear plan and a defined identity. No more waiting, no more wondering, no more hoping that free agents will choose them. They made their moves, and now it's time to prove those moves were the right ones. Here's what this all comes down to. The Indiana Fever just sent a message to the rest of the WNBA. They're not rebuilding anymore. They're not developing anymore. They're competing for championships right now, and they're doing it with the players who got them to the playoffs last season. Lexi Hull's multi-year deal says we believe in this group long-term. Kelsey Mitchell's Supermax says we're going all in this season. And the decision not to chase Azura Stevens or other big names says we trust our chemistry more than we trust star power. That's a bold strategy in a league where teams are constantly churning rosters and chasing the next big thing. But it might also be the smartest strategy because chemistry is real and continuity matters, and knowing your teammates' tendencies can be the difference between a first-round exit and a championship run. The pressure is on Indiana to deliver now. They can't waste this window. They can't afford another year of growing pains or roster mistakes or chemistry issues. This is the year where everything needs to come together, where Caitlin Clark needs to take the leap from great rookie to MVP candidate, where Hull and Mitchell need to elevate their games alongside her, where Stephanie White needs to prove she's the right coach for this group. And if it all works, if the chemistry translates to wins, if the continuity creates an advantage, if Clark does average double-digit assists and leads the Fever to a deep playoff run, then Indiana's front office looks like geniuses for resisting the temptation to blow it up and start over. But if it doesn't work, if the roster hits a ceiling, if other teams that made bigger moves surpass them, then the questions start. Should they have been more aggressive? Should they have chased bigger names? Should they have taken more risks? We won't know the answer until the season plays out. But what we do know is this: the Fever made their choice. They chose continuity over change, chemistry over star chasing, and trust over transaction addiction. Now they have to live with that choice and prove it was the right one. So here's my question for you. Was bringing back Hull and Mitchell the smart move, or should Indiana have been more aggressive in free agency and trades? Are they maximizing Caitlin Clark's window, or are they playing it too safe? Drop your take in the comments, because this is going to be one of the biggest storylines of the season. And if you want to see how this all plays out, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to be covering every move, every game, and every twist in this Fever championship chase.